Hey there, Seneca7 crew. Ian and Jeff here coming at you for the first attempt at the virtual live pre-race briefing. Seneca Lake Effect 7, thanks for being on. Nomad Fitness, thanks for being on, weighing in. Tom, with your team, thank you for being on. At least from what I'm seeing, there's about 120 of you at the moment logged on. So that is a pretty, just jumped up to 170. You guys are coming in. Lactic acid droppers, checkers, slow striders. Thanks all for weighing in. So we're hovering around 170. Hopefully we'll see more to inch closer to that 300 mark. Slow and unsteady in the house. You are striders. And Jackie will also be logging on here in just a minute. We'll patch her through and we'll banter here for just a couple minutes, just to let other teams log on. Looks like we're up to about 242 of you. Team Motherboard 2023 will run for donuts, extra cycling, 7 deadly cinders.
We'll run for donuts. What?
I know. That's a lot of pressure. Whether
There's
we're supposed to add some donuts on the
thank
into
you.
the mix.
This is great. Thank you.
Looks like we've got Jackie.
Okay. I'm here.
Right on. So we'll give it just another couple minutes. You guys are awesome in terms of following through here. We're up to about 280 teams live, 287, pushing 290. Do we hear 300? 300 in the house. So thank you all for being on live. It does make it easier to convey some of the info, hopefully from the coziness of your back porches in this beautiful weather. We are pushing 300. Well done, y'all. And some good solid names chiming in on the chat thread. Dexy's Midnight Runners representing. I run for swag. They have had some good swag in the past from what I hear here. Cheaper than therapy, a little bit. Get at least a session or two out of it. Prefer freezing over 90 degrees, Peter? Yeah. Are you sure, Peter? Because you always run in the guns and no shirt. Are you sure you prefer the freezing over the 90s? I'm guessing many of you know Peter Karloff, who just commented. He runs most races in the kilt and no shirt, just going guns. All right, so we are at 314. So it's probably good to get into the official business. 325. You guys rock. All right. So I will let Jeff and Jackie pretty much take the bulk of this. I'll weigh in on if there's something that really doesn't need weighing in on, just so I can feel included. But really, it's their creation, and it is a beast. So I don't want to misconstrue or convey anything to all you all. So I'll be on the back end. But Jeff and Jackie, you can take it away. And Jeff will be running the slides as well on the share screen here.
Thank you, Ian. Welcome, everybody. We are excited for the 13th asterisk edition of the Seneca7. We had 2 cancellations due to the global worldwide pandemic, but now we're out of the woods and ready for another real live event next Sunday, April 23rd. We'd like to welcome, let's do some introductions. I'm Jeff Henderson. This is Ian Golden and Jackie Augustine. Jackie and I have been running the race since 2011 when it started as a team building leadership exercise at Hobart and William Smith College. And Ian joins us this year. He is a veteran race director from Ithaca, New York. He has run the Seneca7. He is very active in local running circles, local political circles, lots of local circles. Many of you probably already know him. He has a running shop down in Ithaca, runs Red Newt Racing. And so we'd like to welcome Ian to the fold. The 3 of us will be taking you through the event this year. And without further ado, let's get to the pre-race briefing. Just a reminder, at least one member of your team should be watching this right now. And there will be a way to confirm that you watched it at the end. But don't go off and do something else for the next hour. The Seneca7 takes place in Geneva, New York. And Jackie, do you want to explain this slide?
I think this needs no explanation.
Ian, do you want to explain yourself?
Ian, do you want to introduce yourself?
So-
New management.
Say a few
This is
words.
great.
So my history with the event was had a great time running it its first year and its third year. I think this was the third year, and the second time we did it. And I think I've really enjoyed historically some of the relights like you all did. For a time I lived in Hawaii, and we had a relay out there that went around the island of Oahu when it ran. And that was kind of my first dip into those waters, and I've always just had a blast. So I'm right there with all of you being in the mix. And so this was just fun too. I think you'd be surprised how fast that slinky little shiny number was. So if any teams are feeling
TMI.
like, that they would be just that they need a little pick me up and need to go a little quicker, I can probably still dig that out for you all. I know my pecs looked really good there. I can't guarantee that it's going to fit all of you, but let me know. But that's all that's to say that I had a really good time in years 1 and 3, and that was I think after we finished year 3 there.
This outfit might be the thing that prompted us to do best costume awards the next year, because we felt badly that we could not reward you for this effort. So thank you for that, for bringing that style to the race.
And thank you for allowing it. And to be fully honest, actually, as I look at the team members and all the picture, I actually owned, I think, every one of those outfits that they're wearing that they just borrowed for the day. So I've got it in a stockpile somewhere.
Jeez Louise. All right, let's get that slide off the screen.
Yeah.
We are in year 13. There's a number of you who have joined us for previous years. There's some of you who have joined us virtually every single year, including the 2 virtual editions. This is year 13, and we have some new things. Many things have stayed the same, and some things have gone away. So you're still running around Seneca Lake. That hasn't changed. 77 miles. We still have a huge number of wonderful volunteers from local organizations, from Geneva, from all around the Finger Lakes coming to help you get around the lake. At the finish line, we have chili and cornbread from Beef and Brew. And we still have the Seneca7 Spirit. We do not have shuttle buses this year. So if you've run the race in the past, there was always some fun getting on the shuttle bus in the morning at the start. You're not going to do that anymore. Every team will go to the first 2-3 exchanges. In years past, you may have skipped 1 or 2, and the shuttle buses brought your runners. But this year, you'll stop at Missick, the first exchange. You'll stop at Westlake Fire, the second exchange, and you'll stop at Anthony Road, the third exchange. And that means there's no color-coded bib numbers. Your bib numbers are a little more blasé this year. But we do have physical therapists and massage at the finish. That is not Ian's job, but there will be others who will be there to tend to your needs at the end. Ian, Jackie, any further comments on the first slide? Let's move on to the course guide. So we have produced, each year we're going more and more digital, more and more online, because we love the planet and we don't want to destroy it. And also because it is the way that the world is going. Many of you carry a smartphone or your tablet or a mainframe computer around the course with you. So most of the course guide is online. It's an interactive online map. There's a lot of resources available to you on the course guide button at the website, which is right at the top in the front of the first page of the website. So you should be able to find it. The course guide will tell you everything you need to know for race day and should be with you, and also should be downloaded. There's a downloadable version with turn-by-turn instructions that you need to download as well, because there are gaps in cell coverage. And if you're counting on having data the entire way, you're not going to have it, particularly on the east side of the course, I think. But there are gaps in a number of different places. So download those turn-by-turn instructions. We recommend maybe viewing them not on a smartphone, on a bigger screen, but you can rely on the interactive map, and you could actually place yourself on the map by clicking the "You are here" checkbox, so you know where you are at all times. But make sure you download that turn-by-turn instructions as well. The course guide will have instructions for runners, cyclists, and team vehicles. The team vehicles are shown in red. The runners are a little bit darker. The runners are like a brown color. And then there are also parking for the start and the finish. There's lots of parking in Geneva, and that is also indicated in the course guide. So there's a wealth of information. Make sure you download that. Make sure you look through it before race day. On race day, we do have a couple different ways that we will get emergency information or alerts out to you, and we've used this in the past, where there's a bridge out or where there's a tractor trailer parked somewhere it shouldn't be, where a bus breaks down in the middle of the road. So that's all going to come through Twitter at the Seneca7 and also on your race tracker, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the briefing.
Okay, so course markings on the course are going to be a combination of things this year. We will have both the pavement markings that you're used to in spray chalk at curves and turns, but we also have these Seneca7 branded utility flags.
So the utility flags are new this year. You can see them in the little inset picture. They're cute. They're blue. They have the Seneca7 logo. The New York State DOT is trying to crack down on pavement markings, so they don't like lots of different markings in the roadway. So we will have some roadway markings, but we're supposed to be more. We're supposed to be a little bit. We're supposed to use less of them this year. So we've got pavement markings, which you'll look for, and then also these little flags, little blue flags that'll be in the parks. And then in the parks, you'll also see lawn signs that the vehicles will follow. So in general, the runners' markings will be on the left. The vehicle markings will be on the right. But you're going to see fewer markings this year. So you need to make sure to consult the course guide before your leg and make sure you know where you're going.
And just to put in a plug on the fewer markings, I saw the couple comments in there of the concern of one person said you will get lost out there. I guess sometimes that's the nature of the beast. We did try to get a plethora of more markings out there, which the DOT somewhat put the kibosh on this year. So we'll still do what we can to have what we can out there.
And again, just to emphasize, having that downloaded version of the course guide with you, that is about as turn by turn as we can get. So if you feel like maybe you're unclear about where you're supposed to go next, please make sure you're consulting the printed directions.
There's a couple questions coming on the side, and I don't want to miss them. We're going to take questions at the end, but I'm afraid that they're going to be lost before we get to them. Somebody asked if it's vegetarian chili. Yes, it is. And somebody asked if there's a limit to vehicle size. And yes, there is. Your vehicle needs to fit in a normal parking space. So you can't bring a stretch limo. You can't bring a bus. You have to fit in a normal parking space, and you only get one motorized vehicle per team.
And Jeff and Jackie, and for those dropping questions, feel free to drop them too. I'll keep an eye on those, and I'm transferring them to our pre-race briefing Google Doc. So I'll keep track of them.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah, I think that brings us to this question about the exchange points. Those of you who've done the race before, you know your team vehicle has to fit into a standard parking spot because parking is the limiting factor in this race. That's why we have to cap the number of teams. That's why we have to start the waves when we do, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So at the exchange points, one runner's handing off to the next. Only your official vehicle is allowed to park there. And in most cases, there will be an area where bikes can have their own space. without having to interact with the motorized vehicles quite as much. But when you do, if you are coming in close proximity to the motorized vehicles, everybody just try to be kind to one another and give each other some space to move. Extend that kindness to our volunteers, please. They're there to help you. They just want to keep everything orderly, keep everybody safe, and having a great time. You'll see in the course guide online, we've marked what amenities are available at which exchange points. Please pay close attention to that. We know there are never enough porta potties for this event. Everybody wants to go at every stop more than once. And we mark some of the porta potties to reserve them for the next runner and to reserve them for the bike teams because they have the least ability to kind of maneuver around and find other locations. This is a 77-mile course. There are lots of other convenience stores, coffee shops, places to stop where you can use a restroom. We do ask that you not go into the wineries that serve as our exchange points because most of them are on a septic system, but there are other places you could stop, like the Fairfield Inn, which is where I am
Look at that.
Pre-race briefing live from. They still have rooms available. And in the morning, after you drop your runner off at the start, you could come back here, have your breakfast, use an actual bathroom before you get out on your way, because your vehicle is always faster than your runner.
Thank you, Jackie. Now we're going to talk about race morning. Race morning is a lot simpler this year because of no shuttle buses, so you don't have to worry about getting on a bus or getting your runner into the right place. Everybody should show up about 15 minutes before your team's start time. The start times are on the website. If you go to the participant list, your start wave is listed next to your team. So make sure you get there at least 15 minutes before your team's start time. That'll give you plenty of time to visit the portable toilets 5 or 6 times before the start. There are some downtown lots right on Seneca Street, very big lots, lots of room. They're marked in the course guide. You can park right there, right next to the start line. Bike teams, new this year, you're going to bring your special needs bags to the start line, not to Trek bicycles. So I'll have a place there. Ian and I will be there at the start, and we'll have a place for you to put your special needs bags. Bring those to us at least 15 minutes before you start. Runner number 1 needs to carry the slap bracelet. The slap bracelet is your baton as you go around the lake. You're going to hand that from one runner to the next as you go. So runner number 1 will have that slap bracelet, report to the start line, then we'll start the race. The early waves are the biggest waves, so there's going to be a lot going on in downtown Geneva Sunday morning at 6 a.m. And then after the race start, you may be feeling that rush of adrenaline. You may be feeling that frantic energy, but there's no need to panic. You are going to get to the first exchange before your runner is, because as Jackie said, a vehicle is going to beat a runner any day of the week. So take your time departing. There's no prize for getting to Missick first. Missick is going to be a very busy exchange at the beginning of the day, so have some patience, but everything's going to work out okay. And you have to follow the designated route for your mode of transportation. So for the first couple exchanges and others, there are places where your vehicle will not go the same way as the runner, and that is for safety's sake. Follow the course guide, follow the vehicle instructions. There's also a GPX file for GPS instructions available on the course map, and you can put those into your GPS unit and not think about it for the rest of the day. Just follow the GPS. Over to Ian for finish line procedures.
So finish, we tweaked a little bit this year just to move it closer in conjunction with the Welcome Center. It sounded like it worked pretty well last year for basing the food there. And so knowing often the socialization goes where the food is post-race, we pulled it a little bit closer there. So we'll have access to that shelter as well. It'll now finish next to the pavilion outside of the Welcome Center, and we'll use the pavilion for the announcing, and you'll have your chute in front there. And there'll also be some vendors there in conjunction with the New York Welcome Center. We tried to get more of some local New York businesses present in your goodie bags, and we'll try harder for next year. We didn't get much response there, but do stop into the Welcome Center. They've been great partners in this. They've been very welcoming. They're going to have Finger Lakes popcorn, Saucy Confections, Arbor Hill Grapery and Winery, and Lavelle there. So kind of stop in, check those out post-race as you're getting your beef and brew. Sunday, they'll have wine, beer, and spirit tastings along with the option to purchase at the conclusion of the race, and that's set up next to the chili and the cornbread in the Welcome Center. And they for sure welcome all of you to stop in and check it out. But that's where your finish will be, and we just tweaked the loop format so the distance ends up being the same.
I want to kind of draw your attention to a little note at the bottom of that slide. You don't need your timing chip is going to be on one of your bib numbers, and you will get that in your goodie bag when you pick it up on Saturday. So one of you will have the timing chip, and that bib is the one that needs to go across the finish line. Otherwise, you will not get a time. So make sure that bib is with you. Make sure it's not in your pocket. Make sure it's not near a cell phone, because that can cause interference. So just make sure the runner that has the timing chip goes across the finish line. Everybody's welcome to go across the finish line. That's what the team reunification point is for. You can get together with your team. Everybody goes across the line. But if you're not going to go across the line together, make sure that one of the runners has the timing chip bib.
All right, so let's talk about what's going to happen once the race begins. Again, there are no shuttle buses this year, so you are all going to the first exchange point, which is in a new location. We'll get to that in a second. But on the course, you're going to see markings for vehicles. In the parks, those will be lawn signs, but those are also clearly explained in the written directions. So make sure you know your vehicle directions. As Jeff mentioned, there are several places on the course where bikes will not follow their runner. The vehicles are often splitting from their runner, but there are some places where we don't want bikes following along either, and some places where it's optional, and those are all noted. So for this first exchange, again, this is brand new this year, Mystic Cellars. We have parking there, and we are going to attempt to manage the traffic flow by bringing you off Route 14. So pay special attention to the instructions as you're coming out of the city of Geneva, and you're going to approach Mystic from Turk Road, and you'll enter and exit the parking lot from there. If you are approaching the first exchange point from Route 14, you've done something wrong, and our volunteers will let you know that, but only bikes and runners are allowed to continue up Route 14 all the way to the first exchange point.
Somebody put in the comments, which are thoroughly entertaining, by the way, somebody put in the comments that the reason behind the shuttle buses was a lack of parking at the first exchange, which is accurate. We used to use Ports Cafe, and there was no parking there. We have permission to use Mystic Cellars now, and there's a lot more parking, so we're able to eliminate the shuttle buses. And Tina wanted to know, since there's still not enough parking for 300 teams at the first exchange, should we drop our first runner off and then head immediately to the second exchange? That's an interesting idea, but I'm wondering how your first runner is going to get to your team vehicle. So you can organize a carpool with another team if you want. That is highly recommended, but don't leave your first runner behind. If you want to drop off your second runner and then head to the second exchange, just make sure that your first runner who's finishing at Mystic has a way to get up to you at the second exchange. But that's a really good idea, Tina.
All right, so as we're going through the legs, I want to be cognizant of the fact that some of you are joining us for the first time, and we're very glad to have you here. So the idea is that at each of these exchange points, you're pulling into the parking lot, your team is probably getting out and using the restroom, though please, you don't have to do that all the time. We encourage you to bring your own bathroom. Some teams have gotten inventive with that. I'm not joking. They have. But you're going to make that exchange, and then you're going to pick your runner up and proceed to the next location. That next location is going to be familiar to some people, but again, has a new traffic pattern. That's Westlake Road Fire. Again, instead of following your runners down State Highway Route 14 and potentially clogging that roadway, we're taking you back out Turk Road and you're approaching Westlake from the south. This is going to allow for one-way traffic flow. It's going to make things
Smooth,
a little
easy.
less chaotic. I make
Nice.
no promises about it being smooth and easy, but it'll be a little less chaotic. We have volunteers. We have volunteers out there who will be there to help you. And again, remember, we know that you're super excited for this event. We're excited too, but we got a long day out there on the course, so there's no need to rush. I guarantee will make it to the exchange point before your runner does. The bike teams, again, do get the ability to follow with the runners along Route 14, but please, a reminder, bike teams, we need you to ride single file. We need you wearing your helmets, and we need you signaling if you are turning so that vehicles that are not associated with the race, this is an open course, will know what to expect, and there'll be no surprises out there. Yeah, everyone loves to ride alongside their runner. I have to say, it is expressly prohibited for you to idle your vehicle alongside your runner.
Don't do that.
Can't do that.
You're clogging up the course for everybody else. And to underline Jackie's point about cyclists, it may seem common sense that you're riding in single file along the shoulder of the road with helmets on. That has not been our experience. And we've had to put the bike teams on probation several years because the state police have called us, the sheriffs have called us. There are some very unsafe cyclists out there. And if it happens, you risk not being able to cycle in this race. So please follow those instructions. Don't ride 6 abreast across the road. Signal your turns and do follow the rules of the road because you are a vehicle on the roadway.
At the Lakewood exchange point, so this part of the presentation is us drawing your attention to some specific exchange point instructions or changes over prior years for returning teams. Again, all of these instructions will be printed in the course guide. They'll be there for you to look and study leg by leg, exchange point by exchange point. Point of this briefing is just to highlight a few things that we want you to pay special attention to. At Lakewood Vineyards, we are separating the runner turn and the vehicle turn, which we've tried to do the past 5 years now, but we really mean it this time. So if you take a look at this overhead drawing, again, that will be in the course guide for you to take another look at. You'll see volunteers waving you to enter into that first driveway. Please heed their directions and follow them so we can maintain one-way traffic through that parking lot.
Kyle is bringing a 50-gallon drum. I assume that's for bathroom use. So everybody find Kyle. He's got a bathroom for you.
That will get you probably collectively at least until Watkins Glen. Once you drop into Watkins, there will be cones bringing you in along the shoulder. But probably one of the most congested points on the course in terms of just traffic flow, just as you enter the village proper of Watkins Glen. You'll check out the map. You will splinter off of 14, head next to the Harbor Hotel and through a parking lot there, and then you'll weave through some of the city streets. DOT really wanted us to keep to the chalk markers on the roads. There we will add some cones with signs. Each runner, if you can, even if you're not totally familiar with the areas that you're running through, at least for sure glance at the map before you head out there. Have the general gist of what you're about to do. And then again, we'll have cones and arrows in place. You'll still be looking at the ground-based ones, but just knowing there's a lot more just congestion visually in Watkins Glen. You can also look for some of those cones with arrows. And that'll take you through to the halfway point in Clute Park there.
And at the halfway point, you're going to find your special needs bags, the Red Jacket Refresh Station, the Trek Bike Station. You're also going to find real bathrooms and water fountains and a beautiful view of the lake. So that's a great place to get to and kind of hang out with your team for a little bit as you're waiting for your runner to come in. And there is quite a bit of parking at Clute Park for you.
So those things, some of those things that Jackie mentioned are for bike teams, the refresh station, the special needs bags. Peter asked, will there be repair people in the park? Trek Bicycle will be there. They do bring tools. They will be able to help you out with some small repairs. They're not going to overhaul your bottom bracket, but if you've got some small issues that came up during the first half of the race, they will have tools there that they can help you with. And they will also collect anything in your, you can put back into your special needs bags for transportation back to the finish line. To answer Cheryl's question, there are about 320 teams in the race. Next up.
As you're coming out of Watkins Glen, the most congested spot on the course, as usual, is going to be this Hector Falls exchange. And as you can see from the map, this is not one of the exchange points that has a designated parking lot. We're using the shoulders of the road. So we have several suggestions for how your team could navigate this in a more efficient, pleasant, enjoyable way. The first thing that we're implementing is that the teams in the fastest teams that are in the 9 a.m. wave are going to get a car flag that they can display at a couple of these pinch points on the east side of the lake. This alerts the volunteers that their runners are moving quite quickly and that their vehicles need to move perhaps a little more quickly than the full field. We know everybody respects that. We understand that we're all in this together. So coming into Hector Falls, we're actually going to allow those vehicles with the car flag to follow the runners up Route 414 and have a special designated pull-off area. Everybody else is going to be rerouted through the town of Burdett. Again, all of this is spelled out in the course guide and on the map. And then you'll find your parking along the shoulder of County Road 5. We have state troopers there who are managing traffic control. They're also crossing your runners. When you are crossing a highway, you can only do that on the instruction of a volunteer or a state trooper, obviously. So we'll have that in place at this exchange. But we talked earlier about carpooling, and here's another area of the course where that would be a really good idea. When you're down in Watkins Glen, by that time, you're going to know which teams are moving around the same pace as you are, because you're going to see each other in the line for the porta potty at every exchange to that point. So might as well strike up a conversation. And this would be a great way for you to couple with a couple other teams, and one person agrees to navigate Hector Falls, drop those runners off, pick up the finishing runners, and then continue on that leg of the course. What follows this exchange at Hector Falls is the one and only 10K of the race. It's a 6-mile leg after you make this exchange. So you have a lot of time, if you're carpooling, to find those teams that you were working with and to reunite. We also have that's on the next slide, I guess. Sorry. Halfway up this next leg, we do have a rest stop area. Grist Iron Brewery has agreed to allow us to use their lower lot for parking. We'll have additional porta potties there. That just gives you a place to kind of reconvene and wait, so you aren't rushing all the way up and waiting for 50 minutes with a bunch of other cars up at Scale House Brewing. So we're trying to take the pressure off some of this and give you a more enjoyable experience.
Up at the top of that slide, it says, wear your safety vest. Every team will receive a flimsy, cheap, ill-fitting vest in your goodie bag. It is up to you whether you want to wear that particular vest or not. If you want to choose to wear your own, it has to be high visibility, but you can use your own. There are particular legs where you have to wear a safety vest, and the first leg and the last leg are 2 of those, and then the course guide lists all of the legs where you need to wear a safety vest. So just make note of that, but you will get one in your goodie bags if you don't already have one.
Okay, Exchange 14, Billy's Burgundy Barn, exactly as it sounds. Again, you will be approaching this exchange not following the same course as your runners. You will be parking along the shoulder of a road, and you will be directed by a lovely Girl Scout troop who may try to sell you some cookies, which I think is allowed. I think we're going to allow that. But we're going to ask you to please heed their warning not to crowd the shoulder. Again, the road is open. It's a back country road. You might think there's no problem standing in the center line for 10 minutes, but that's really not the way we should be conducting ourselves on the roadway. So we will try to keep people moved toward the shoulders so that you can cheer in comfort and safety.
There's some comments from Stephanie in the comments section about bike teams and water. There is water. We put water out on the course for cyclists because obviously you can carry a lot less on a bike than you can in a team vehicle. I want to make note that that water is only for cyclists. And last year, we happened to have an 85-degree day. It was unseasonably hot, and a lot of teams were helping themselves to the water that was for the cyclists, and the cyclists then ended up with no water on the back half of the course. So we'd like to ask everybody's cooperation. The coolers say cyclists only. Please heed that, because you can carry your own water in your team vehicle, and do not drink the water that the cyclists need. We're going to have more out there this year, but it is for the cyclists only.
And then the follow-up piece of that for Jeff or Jackie, just based on last year, was she also mentioned that there's no water heat park as well.
And this year we have confirmed that that Welcome Center will be open. They will have water fountains. Again, the support that's offered for cyclists, we have an entire slide about that. So we will get to that. We will answer all these questions before this is over.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, if you could just bear with us, that way people who are new to the race, we can keep kind of a sequence so that we don't completely lose someone. I want to be sensitive to that.
Okay. So this is my favorite leg, leg 16. It is an off-road odyssey that goes past a penitentiary, recycling world, a former Boy Scout camp. There's all kinds of weird stuff on this leg, and it is the only leg where cyclists should not be following the runners. It's not appropriate for bikes. Usually bikes can go anywhere. If you have a mountain bike, perhaps this is fine, but we don't recommend it. And don't carry a wallet, because the felons might be prowling the woods. I'm kidding. But this particular leg, once you leave Bonavista, which is a golf course, it's a state golf course, you're going to follow the golf cart path down to the woods, and you're going to turn into the woods on a trail that descends. It's a very nice trail. It's very peaceful. A lot of people really enjoy this leg, but it is off-road. It's on the grass, and it goes around the water treatment plant, and then you get to the lake again, and then you scramble through an old mental health hospital before you get back to the roadway. So you do need a safety vest on this particular leg, and just be prepared that you might be all alone out there because you're not on the road.
I think that the another special thing about this leg is we do have the drum circle coming back. So as you're coming through and looking for that path, we will have drummers there leading the way, so you know you're headed in the right direction. It's really a lovely stretch, and I think that they're there to help you and to kind of reassure you that you are on the right track. When you get to the end of that path, yes, there is a snowplow, and yes, you should go around it. That many a person has stopped and asked if we were serious. We're serious. Go around the snowplow.
It's been pointed out that I guess the penitentiary is now closed. I think it closed in the last year. So that won't be present this year. Now we enter Sampson State Park, leg 17. Sampson used to be an Air Force base and was a staging ground in the Korean War. There's still a lot of old vehicles or a lot of old infrastructure from those days of old, but it's a very big, beautiful park with a marina. And there are 2 exchange points within Sampson State Park, and one at the south end and one at the north end. It can be a little bit complicated to get through, and the exchange points are not that far apart, only a little bit more than 2 miles. So you do need to pay attention to the course guide. You do need to pay attention to the turn-by-turn instructions for the vehicles. And there's some special markings within Sampson State Park because we're not allowed to use spray chalk in the state parks. So the runners, this is one spot where runners will be following the utility flags that have the Seneca7 logo on them, and those will be on the left side. And then the vehicles are going to follow lawn signs, which are slightly bigger and have the Seneca7 logo on them, and those will be on the right side. So you'll enter Sampson State Park from the main entrance as a vehicle. You'll enter Sampson State Park from the south on a pedestrian pathway if you're a runner. So you enter the park 2 different ways, depending on whether you're a runner or a vehicle, and then you proceed up through the park in 2 different ways as well until you get to the North Exchange. And then at the North Exchange, runners and vehicles will exit the park in the same way through the north gate.
I would just point out again, if you have downloaded or will download the printed directions, which you should do and should have in your vehicle, then you would know when you come into Sampson State Park in your motorized vehicle that you're taking the 3rd roundabout exit. I know last year, many people, thank you for being so friendly and waving as I was waving you by. I can't guarantee that I will be there this year, but I might be somewhere else in the park. But it's clearly marked that you will take the 3rd exit out of that roundabout.
So here's another diagram of Sampson, and somebody asked if we'll make these slides available. We will make these available on the website afterwards. You can also go back and watch this on YouTube or Facebook, but this is a little more detailed drawing about how you flow through Sampson, how the vehicles flow through, because for some reason a lot of people got mixed up last year and went the wrong way. And so study this before you get there and make sure you know where you're going. The little P's are parking, and it does go right through the heart of Sampson.
And we just want to remind you that this is one-way traffic. So once you enter Sampson State Park, you're going to flow through all the way until you exit. So at no point should you be in a position where you're turning around unless you have missed a sign or somehow, this used to be a naval training facility. If you find yourself on one of those back test roads, we're not responsible for that, but we will have it well marked so that you'll be able to flow through with everybody, and you'll be parking along the shoulders of these driveways.
Russell's asking about potholes. The roads are really rough in Sampson, and so be careful. If you're a runner or a vehicle, there are potholes. Sometimes they fill them, sometimes they don't. But there's a lot of infrastructure in there from when it wasn't a military base, and it's a park now, so it's rough. It's rough on the roads. Now we're going to talk about cutoff times, because our permit for the race requires that we hold this race during daylight hours. We're pretty close to sunrise and sunset on both ends, and so we need to make sure that people get to the end before dark, and that is the reason for these cutoff times. Jackie, do you want to talk about the first one, which is actually an early cutoff time, which is slightly different than the other 2?
So to ease everybody's concerns, the way that we determine the wave starts is by your estimated pace, which we emailed about and nagged you about, and then emailed you again and maybe called you to get your details about your estimated pace. Assuming you hold your estimated pace, there will be no question about you finishing on time. Now, some of you may have given us a pace and then done a whole lot of training, a lot of speed work, a lot of hills, and you get out there and you are just overrunning your pace by a lot. That means you're going to get to parts of the course that maybe aren't ready for you yet and surprise our volunteers, and then they think they did something wrong when really they're there on time, you're just early. So we implemented this early checkpoint. We've had this for several years now. We have our most snuggly, wonderful volunteers there ready to give you a big warm hug and hold you in place until 9:55, because if you get there before 9:55, I hate to say it, but you've done something wrong. You've really overrun what you thought you were going to be doing. And we need to keep you there to make sure that we keep everything on schedule. If you are a bike team, you will not be held. I mean, I guess you could ask voluntarily for a hug, but it's not mandatory. So you will be allowed to pass, but all motorized vehicle teams will not be allowed to proceed past the Glenora Exchange until at least 9:55.
The next cutoff time is in Sampson North, which we just saw the Sampson slide. If you are not to the north end of Sampson State Park by 6:37 p.m., you will have to stop because that is very clear at that point that you are not going to make the final cutoff time. And unfortunately, we have to ask you to end the race. There are some teams that ask, well, can we continue on unofficially? And we'd like to finish. Unfortunately, we can't allow that because for several reasons. We're not allowed to have runners on the course after dark. Our volunteers need to know where the end of the race is, and they get very confused if you're behind the pace of the cutoff time. And so we will ask you, and we'll be strict about this. At 6:37, you will have to stop if you don't reach Sampson North.
And then the final cutoff, the end of your day, if you have not already finished, if you don't clear the last exchange point, Bottomless Brewing, by 7:57, then we are going to ask you to please get back in your vehicle, proceed directly to the finish. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. This is required under our permit. So we do enforce this. Again, we have structured the wave starts such that everyone, if maintaining their pace, will be well clear of these cutoff points. So I see, people are asking, they have particular questions about their pace. You can email us, but we've decided the wave starts based on what you've given us as your estimated pace. Oh, I'm always the bearer of the bad bathroom news again, that we do have porta potties at several of the exchange points around the lake. We have so many porta potties in total. Unfortunately, they cannot be loaded on a trailer and just drive from point to point all day. So we try to strategically locate them in areas where there might not be an off-course bathroom in the immediate vicinity. But in a lot of the area around the lake, you are within, a mile's drive, couple minutes drive of some really nice bathrooms, right? Wouldn't you rather have a bathroom with running water than a porta potty anyway? But maybe not. So we do ask you to try to locate those bathrooms off course. In Watkins Glen, I saw someone had mentioned it's a great place to refill your supplies, get more water, refuel, and that goes for bathrooms as well. We will have those porta potties marked in some locations to make sure that the next runner has easy access to that the cyclists have easy access to that, because we're not going to ask them to ride off course to find an alternate bathroom. So please do heed the signage on the porta potties.
Everywhere, everyone, all at once. Okay, team tracking. What is team tracking and why do you need to know about it? Team tracking is what allows us to know where you are during the day. We follow you around the course, and with your cooperation, we know where everybody is at all times. That helps the logistics, that helps our volunteers, that helps us keep track of you. So right now, as we speak, your team link, which your captain has been using to log t-shirt sizes, estimated pace, runner names, runner emails, that team link now has a field that shows your team tracking link. So scroll down to the bottom of that team link and you'll find it. It looks something like the red thing at the bottom of this slide. It's a website address. That is, bookmark that, copy it, remember it. that is your team link for race day, and you have to use that. Every team is required to do this. And what will you do? It's very simple. You're just going to log the time of day for each exchange when you get to it. You are expected to be accurate. You can be as accurate as you want to be. There's a field for seconds. You can use the seconds, or you can just use the hour and the minutes. But every time you make an exchange, you do need to log the time of day where you got to that exchange. And you don't have to do it immediately. We know that sometimes you may not reunite with your runner immediately, but before the next runner gets to the next exchange, we do expect you to log your time on that specific team page. Practice it. That team link is available now. Get somebody on your team who is technologically savvy to follow that link, bookmark it, and practice putting in some times. They'll all be cleared out before race day. They'll probably be cleared out several times before then as I test the system. But you need to know your team link, and you need to know your tracking link before race day so that you can log times. If you don't log times, you will not get finisher medals, and you will also receive a phone call sometime over the course of the morning asking you why you are not logging times. It is a requirement of this race, so make sure you're ready to do that. This is what it looks like. This is what the page looks like. The exchange points are in order. Roy's Marina is now Missick, and Kashongish is now Westlake Fire. But this is what it will look like. You can edit an old time. You can remove the last time you entered. It should be very user-friendly. If you try it and can't figure it out, get in contact with us before race day. The start line is not the time to learn how to use it or to come up to me and ask me how to use it. You've got a whole week, so figure out how to use it. And what does it give you? Well, we get interactive live results over the course of the day. You can go on the web page and see a live tracking page. You can see the map. You can see where all the teams are. You can see what their pace they're doing. You can, not only you, but your friends and family from home, anywhere in the world, can watch the race unfold in real time because you are providing this information into the system. Afterwards, you'll get a full rundown of your splits over the course of the day for your entire team and every other team. You'll also get the popular roadkill report, which indicates how many teams you passed and how many teams passed you. And most importantly, you'll get your finisher medals at the finish line. So that is the team tracking situation, and make sure that you know how to do it before race day.
Jeff, could you just explain for people who are new to the race, you're asking people to put in the time of day that the runner reaches that exchange point, correct?
Exactly. Yep. So when your runner makes the exchange, when you hand the slap bracelet from one runner to another, look at your watch, note what time that is, and that's the time you'll put into the tracker. We don't want to know elapsed time. We don't want to know that it took you 30 minutes. We want to know the time of day. At 8:13 a.m., my runner made the exchange at Westlake Fire. And that's all the information you have to put in. It's very simple.
And don't worry if you accidentally advance or clock a time incorrectly. There is an ability to go back and to edit those times. So you don't need to send us a panicked message immediately. You will be able to figure it out and edit those times. If you are consistently having an issue with the race tracker, please do reach out to us, and we will be able to provide on-phone support or tech support during the race.
As we mentioned in one of the earlier slides, your team tracker also has the ability to display alerts. So if you look at this slide down at the bottom in orange on the left-hand side, there's an alert they're color-coded as to the severity of the alert. But if there's a detour, if there's something we need to let you know, it will be displayed down at the bottom of your tracker. So keep an eye on that space that we can update in real time and get that information out to you. Another thing to note, fun fact, the only time you don't have to log is your finish time. We have the timing chips on your bib number, so when you come across the finish line, it will be an official electronic chip time, and you don't have to log your finish time. So you don't need to worry about that on the way to the Chili.
So just to recap, you're going to go to your team link, which if you don't know where that is, you can get your team link finder on the Seneca7 website. At the bottom of your team link, you're going to find the link to your tracker page, and then you can start testing it out. Jeff, is that live for them to start testing right now or after this briefing at some point?
It's live right now, but there are safeguards built into the system. So sometimes you may get an error message because you're trying to log a time in the future or you're trying to log a time in the past. The system is working, and I will reset it every day. But just make sure you can go to that page. That's the main thing. Make sure you get to a page that has your team name at the top and the first exchange listed, and then that's an accomplishment. You won. That's it.
Do you want to, Jeff and Jackie, do you want to take a second and dive into this more with questions, or do you want to put this off for a few minutes until the end? A couple more questions and concerns on the tracker. We can delve in now or put it off for a few minutes.
If we want to answer tracker questions, we can do that now.
Okay. So a couple other individuals have just been trying and saying they can't get in, and then another one, or that it's not working for them. I don't know the details there. And another one mentioned there's a locked sign next to it and what that means. And then a third was an individual, which is kind of a tangential question, that they're taking on the captain's role because the captain bowed out and they don't have a link. So for that person, just email us and we can send you that. But then maybe you guys, or Jeff, you could speak to the tracker maybe not working for those who are trying right now.
Yeah, if you're trying right now, try again tomorrow because I'm not going to be able to look at it right now. But you should be able to find your link. That is the important thing. Go to the bottom of your team page, find that link, bookmark it, try it again tomorrow. And you should have success. The Heather notes that you have to copy and paste the link. You can't just click on it. You have to copy and paste it into your browser address to get to that page. As Hannah points out, before you get to the tracker itself, you have to enter your race day cell contact number. This is our way of collecting that information from you and to make sure that you've tested the tracker before race day, because we want to make sure everybody has a chance to test it. So the first thing you get to, you're going to have to enter a race day cell number. I'm going to clear all this stuff out before race day. So you don't have to know right now what your cell number is going to be on race day. But the first time you go to this page on race day, you're going to have to enter your race day cell contact number to get to the actual tracker page. That's the first thing you're going to have to do.
And people are asking if it's pre-populated with their start time. The start time, which you can find by looking at the participant list on the Seneca7 website, that lists everybody's start time. That's posted right now by bib number, by team captain last name, by team name. But is that going to be pre-populated in the tracker for them, or do they have to enter that?
Nope, it's all pre-populated. It's all automagic. So when you go to your team tracker page, you should see your start time right up at the top, which should correlate with the start time listed on the participant list on the website. So there's 3 steps. Copy and paste that link into a browser. Make sure that you bookmark that for race day, and then enter the times during race day where you get to the different exchanges. Somebody put a tip in the comments, which I thought was a nice tip. You can take a picture of your watch, or just take a picture of anything when somebody comes across an exchange point, and then you can look back at the time of that picture, and that will give you the time where the runner made the exchange. So if you just want to take a picture of the exchange at the time where your runner makes the exchange, then you'll have the time for later when you want to put it into the tracker. Somebody asked, how will spotty cell coverage affect time entries? So this is on the line. It is working on the information superhighway. So if you are in an area where you don't have any coverage, you're not going to be able to enter a time. So that's one place where you might want to write it down or take a picture and remember it for when you have cell coverage again, because this is, you do need network access to put in your times.
And let's be honest, we know lots of you have spreadsheets in your vans. where you have calculated out who's running what leg, what their estimated arrival time is going to be at each one. So you can pencil in their finish time there and upload when you get your coverage back. But there are some places on the course where it's out for a little bit, but not an extended period of time. So that really shouldn't be an issue for cell coverage.
One notorious area with really bad coverage is Sampson State Park. I can never get coverage there. So just an FYI. That's one spot. Any other tracker questions? Ian, did you see any? Jackie, did you see any come through that we haven't covered?
I think you pretty much covered them. If not, I'll mention it here at the end with the list.
Tina's bringing a dial-up modem. That's a good idea. And if you can make the noise every time you're dialing up, that would be even better. Okay. Bicycles at the Seneca7. We are happy to host bike teams. This year we have 26 bike teams. They make our lives easier. They don't take up parking spots. It's environmentally friendly. And as long as you don't ride 6 abreast across the road, we're very happy that you're there. And we want to support you as best we can with all these wonderful amenities. You got priority registration. If you didn't know this, when you registered on October 31st, the bike teams were able to register on October 30th, all day, with no getting up at 7 a.m., no worrying, no fretting. Bike teams were in on October 30th. So if you want to ride a bike next year, you'll guaranteed to get into the race. Bike teams get an extra goodie bag filled with wonderful, amazing things every year, and you'll pick that up at Packet Pickup next Saturday in Geneva. During the race itself, we've already mentioned that there's on-course water that's specifically for cyclists. You don't have to take the vehicle detours. You can follow the runners pretty much everywhere except down through Edgemere on the off-road section. We mentioned the special needs bags, which means that you can put anything in those 2 bags that you want, and we will transport them to the Clute Park Exchange down in Watkins Glen, where you can get everything, and then you can put stuff into those bags and we'll take them back to the finish line for you. So a little concierge service on course. Down in Watkins Glen, there's also the Red Jacket Orchards Refresh Station, which comes complete with bike mechanics and Red Jacket Orchards juice, which is grown and pressed in Geneva and is delicious and is amazing. And you should get some. And then Trek Bicycles is down there as well, supporting you in Watkins Glen. After the race, you get special bamboo bike rack parking. So you're going to have the best parking of anybody right next to the finish line. Rack your bike, head straight for the chili. And we also have an award for the fastest bike teams every year. And it's amazing that how fast they can go, because remember, they're not only running 11 to 13 miles, they're also cycling somewhere between 50 and 60 miles during the course of the day. So it's a long day. It's a hard day, but we're glad you're there, and we want to support you.
And don't forget the best perk of all, which is priority use of those porta potties at some of the exchange points. And just to remind everybody, we do have a different protocol for those special needs bags this year. Instead of taking them to Trek Bicycle in the morning, you're going to bring them right to the start line. The Trek team is still going to bring them to the halfway point for you, and they're still going to load them up and bring them back to the finish line for you. But this year, instead of having to go over to their store, you can just bring them right to the start line with you.
Ian, did you want to talk about the Bike Czar new this year?
So Simon, friend Simon Lee will join us for probably this year and this year only. He's about to head up to school in Canada here pretty soon. I think he's a pretty fair individual. He'll be cruising around out there in probably circa 2000 Toyota Tacoma, a little bit of rust patches. He is pretty bike savvy. Right after high school, he picked up and rode his bike from coast to coast just on his own. So he is out there and can weigh in, but he's really just with an eye to make sure that everybody's following the bike rules and instructions. He does not have the say in whether you all are ejected or can't ride again. but he will convey what's going on. If there are teams or individuals that are not following the instructions, that will get back to us. Don't take up any issues with Simon. I mean, he's there you can bounce things off, have a good time, chat, ask him bike-related questions if you want. But ultimately, any bike-related questions and rules violations would be with Jeff, Jackie, or myself. But he will be out there and is a pretty nice guy. So be nice to him. Somebody
asked how many water stations there are for the bicycle teams, and you can find that in the course guide. So go to the course guide on the website, and you'll see a little water icon. That is for cyclists. We're not providing water for any other team except the cycling teams.
So we have several teams that have opted to enter the race as a fundraiser for our local charities. We're super appreciative of that. As you know, as you go around the course, the people helping you get from point A to point B, who are monitoring the exchanges, who are handing out your goodie bags, who are feeding you the vegetarian chili at the finish line, are all people who represent local charity partners. And they are glad that you're here. We're glad you're here. And they're particularly glad to see the teams that have opted to make additional contributions to those charities. So we just wanted to take a moment to recognize those teams that are, I'm going to make a bad pun. They're going the extra mile for our community partners. So we are not adding any miles to their course, but no, we're really thankful for the teams that are supporting the charity partners in an additional way. The race would not be possible without about 300 volunteers, 250, 300 volunteers who are starting tomorrow, getting ready with our preparations, and then we'll welcome you on Saturday for goodie bag pickup at the Finger Lakes Welcome Center, and then we'll see you on Sunday around the course, monitoring the exchange points and helping you at the finish. So we'll hope you'll be kind to the volunteers. Occasionally, maybe you'll say a thank you. They'd appreciate that, but they just want to see you have a great time out there. So we're really glad to have so much community support for the event.
One final note, we run this race rain or shine, and we have had both. So last year it was 85 degrees and sunny. One year we had rain, snow, and wind the entire day. So it's April. Anything can happen between now and then. So be prepared. Be careful out there. Everybody's just trying to get around the lake. We appreciate you coming. Geneva appreciates you coming. We're going to answer some questions now if you want to stick around. The last thing we're going to leave you with, to confirm that you watched this pre-race briefing, go to your team link, put in your race day vehicle information, your make, model, and your license plate number. You don't have to do it now. You can do it over the course of the week. We just need to know what vehicle you're driving. Somebody asked if they could bring a 22-foot RV. No, you cannot. That does not fit in a normal parking spot. There are no parking spots that are 22 feet long. So put in your team vehicle information. Make note of the Seneca7 hashtag. Elon Musk will be monitoring it personally himself over the course of the week. And also hashtag selfies from the van. It's really fun to see people taking pictures throughout the day. So post those pictures and share them widely. It's a really exciting, fun race, and we're looking forward to it. Ian and Jackie, any last thoughts before we get to questions?
Just to remind everybody, it is a community event. What makes it great is the spirit of the race. We have a great social media director, and he has these hashtags ready to go, not just so you guys can be in touch and collect the spirit of the event, but also this is another way that we help to monitor what's going on the course. So if there's something you want to bring to our attention quickly, this is a great way to do it. We try to be as responsive as possible. Ian, Jeff, and I are all out there all day on race day, on various parts of the course and at the finish line and at the start. So we try to be as responsive as possible. And if you get a phone call from us, please answer. Please be kind. We have something to share with you, usually about the race tracker, but could be something else. So those race day contacts are important for us to have, but we also want you to know that communication is two-way through social media.
A lot of people are asking what you put in for the vehicle information if you're a bike team. Just put bikes. That's fine. And also, if you don't know your team vehicle information, just put it in once you know. You don't have to do it tonight. You can do it once you've rented your vehicle or once you've figured out what vehicle you're going to be driving. We just need to know it before race day.
All right, so I will take some of the questions that weren't answered so far. Probably about at least half the questions were, but I will take them in the order that I have them recorded. First one is, will there be vegetarian chili? And is there allergy-friendly options for post-race food?
We note the chili is vegetarian. There's chili and cornbread. The chili is also gluten-free. No nuts in the making of the chili or the cornbread. So to that extent, we've got those allergies covered. That's about it that I've got for allergy information on the food.
For bike teams, where do special needs bags for bikes get delivered, and what size bags for bikes, and are there preferred or requirements for the size or labels for the special needs bags?
So you will be provided both special needs bags for your team. They are normal reusable shopping bags. So like what you get at Wegmans. You get 2 per team. You are provided them. You should label them. You should label them very well with your team number in several different places on both bags, because we always end up with special needs bags at the end, and you want to get it back. So you'll drop them off at the start line. You'll pick them up at the finish line.
When do I pick up my bracelet?
So your bracelet's going to be in your goodie bag, and goodie bag pickup, which is posted on the timeline that's on the Seneca7 webpage, is Saturday the 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Welcome Center. You'll have that window to come in. You'll get your shirts, your swag, your bib numbers, including the one that has the timing chip on it, and your bracelet will be in there. So make sure you retrieve that and bring it with you to the start line for the race.
And on that note or topic, where is the pickup on Saturday for registration? Another question that just came in.
The Finger Lakes Welcome Center is right on the Geneva Lakefront. Again, that's Saturday, anytime between 1 and 4. Just one member of your team needs to come in. I mean, you're all welcome. And again, as Ian said earlier, there will be some vendors, some local vendors and wineries and breweries doing tastings after the race as well. But that's where the race also finishes, and that's where the chili will be served. So it's all in that Welcome Center at the lakefront.
There was one, I have a start time question. Should I email? Yes, you should. And then somebody was having a tough time finding their start time or them being in the race. So if you go to the home page, you can click on the left sidebar kind of column. There's a who's in. And if you click on the picture there, it'll take you to the team list. With Bottomless being closed, is it going to change anything? And are the new owners on board?
We're currently using Bottomless as our exchange point. We're aware of the sale in progress, and so far, so good.
Jeff commented on the 22-foot RV, and you commented that it fits between the 2 lines for the person that submitted the question. No doubt that would be a rocking vehicle to have for the event, but I think the length and getting in and out of some of the spots is maybe more of the issue and not fitting in a regular spot.
The first year we had someone show up with a limo bus, which was an amazing addition to just see. It was a sight to behold, but it clogged up every parking spot, or every exchange point parking lot all along the course.
You think the bathrooms were clogged? That was a mess.
Nobody appreciates extra long vehicle because the turning radius is not really conducive to the kind of tight quarters at these exchange points. So we have required, since that after that first year, that every team vehicle must fit within a standard size parking space, both width and length.
One that just came in response as we were talking to a prior question. What's the email for a question about start times?
Your best your best way to contact us is to go to the Contact Us page on the website and just type it in, and then it'll get to us.
I was transferred as the team captain because ours is no longer attending. I never got the team link info.
So go to the Contact Us page, put in your team name and your captain's name, and then we'll send out your team link to you.
I didn't register my team and didn't know about this. And when we were speaking about the charity teams, can we still support a local charity?
You absolutely can support one of the local charities. And what we will do is post a list of those charity partners on the website with some hyperlinks so that you can find their pages, see what they do, and as the spirit moves you, contribute.
And I think Jeff and or Jackie or us answered the previous questions that I got. If we missed it, for sure, feel free to drop them into the comments thread here. One up above is any ability to exchange shirts for different sizes.
We will have an exchange table both at packet pickup and at the end of the race. So for teams who have either changed a captain or had a significant turnover in some of their runners, or who pick up their shirts and decide they'd like a different size, we will have a table there for you to either get a shirt that you might have missed, or to exchange for a different size.
Several comments throughout. Scott Bickham a couple times, and then Ryan Collins just mentioning the lack of water at Clute for enough for the bikes last year, as well as no water available for the last 30 miles last year. And so will there be more water in the second half of the course? And then an individual earlier asked if there would be replenishment of the aid throughout if it does get tapped.
Yeah, so to reiterate what we said previously, last year was a combination of extremely hot weather and non-cyclists helping themselves to the water for the cyclists. So we will be having more water on the course this year, particularly if it's another hot day. And we ask all the teams to cooperate and not drink the water for the cyclists. Those coolers are labeled cyclists only, and it is their only means of replenishing water throughout the day.
And in terms of runners, just so you know, we do still have the aid station on that, the leg I mentioned before from Hector Falls to Scalehouse Brewing, the 10K in the middle of the race. We do have an aid station for runners there, where we'll have both an electrolyte drink option and water. That will be a staffed aid station. So if you're running that leg, you will have some support on that. But for the rest of the race, the runners with motorized vehicles are expected to be self-supporting.
There's a couple questions in the comments about runner order. We don't need to know your runner order. We used to ask for it, and we don't ask for it anymore because we don't need to know. So you can put your runners in any order. Just list them however you want, and you can change it. You don't have to go in that order on race day. I'm sorry, I don't want to cause confusion with that comment. Once you start the race, you need to stay in that same order. Runner 1 always needs to do the first, 8th, and 15th legs, and so on. You have to keep your runner order throughout the day, but we don't need to know what that order is before you start the race.
One was, sorry, they just scrolled on me. Let's see.
Some people are having trouble logging their times in the tracker. If you really try it again tomorrow. If you're really having trouble, just send us a message and contact us, and we'll help you through it. But sleep on it. You don't have to worry about it right now.
And on that point, just going back to people who have team specific questions or things they'd like some clarification on. Most of you all have my email address. I guess maybe I'm not supposed to say it on a live stream or on YouTube, whatever, but you've got my address. You can always write me directly. Sometimes that's a little easier than submitting the contact us form. So, I'm available. Some of you know, you get a reply in the middle of the night, but I'll try to schedule send if it's too late.
And Patty asks, is there a turn-by-turn for the cyclists on the download?
Yes. So that turn-by-turn instructions document has instructions for runner, motorized vehicles, and cyclists.
Any double XL shirts? I believe we had 2 XLs on there. I can't remember the size breakdown at the moment, but I think so.
I think if people requested those in the initial shirt sign up, we did order them. I don't know if we have extras, but I will take a look. Again, if you have a concern about that, send me an email. We'll see what we can do. Once we get the bag stuff tomorrow, I'll have a better sense of that. People are asking what's in the bags. That's a surprise. I'm not ruining that for everybody. That's like Christmas.
And Jeff may have just answered it regarding the runner legs. There was, I think, a question that maybe came in afterward, whether they can switch it maybe from the original. And just to reiterate, you don't need to know your runner legs. You need to establish them and stick by them, same runner running kind of each order, but we don't necessarily need to know what they are, so you can change them ahead of the start.
People are asking about the off-road leg and what the conditions might be if we get some rain, if we get a torrential downpour. Sure, things could get muddy, but that particular leg, the off-road section, is pretty well seeded with grass and weeds. So I wouldn't expect that to get too swampy right away. But again, we don't control the weather. If we get a torrential downpour, then yeah, you should be prepared for some mud on that section, or frankly, several other parts of the course that could potentially be flooded. But we don't, I'm knocking on wood, we don't expect that this year.
If there aren't any other questions, we encourage you to go to the course guide and read through it over the next week. We encourage you to maybe look through this presentation again. It'll be posted on the website by tomorrow. And if you have any other questions, just reach out to us. We're here to help.
And for those that just asked about the legs and these final questions here, it looks like some of the others listening are weighing in as well. One was, can leg 16 get muddy if it's raining? And the other one, what runner number has the off-road leg? So some of that, Jeff or Jackie, maybe just top of your head, you know which leg that is in terms of the off-road, and then you all can kind of consult the kind of order grid from there.
Yeah, the off-road leg is the leg through Bonavista. That is leg 16, so that should be runner. I'm not going to say it if I don't have it directly.
Yeah, it's in the course guide. If you go to the course guide, it'll tell you all you need to know.
I would encourage everybody, if you're waiting to try out the race tracker, maybe what you could do this evening instead is download that course guide, take a look. If you have any questions at all, if any of the directions look unclear, please reach out. We'd rather answer those questions ahead of time than have you out there and kind of wondering. We're trying to anticipate what your questions might be and get those answered.
And you did miss which legs require the safety vest. Jessica, I think that was mentioned. The first leg and the last leg are mandatory for the safety vest.
And if you look at the course guide, you'll see any other legs where a safety vest is required. Yeah,
because that does include going into Watkins Glen as well. And volunteers will have additional flimsy safety vests that they could make available, but you should plan on bringing your own. We know comfort is important to you. You might be more comfortable in a vest of your own. As long as it's high visibility, it's fine. If you have questions about it, you can bring it to Packet Pickup. We can look at it and give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Thank you for being here, everybody. It's getting almost to be an hour and a half, so we should probably wrap this up. But good luck on race day. Good luck out there, and we'll see you in Geneva next weekend.
Thanks all.